Well, good evening. Happy 2024, everybody. I thought we'd do something just a little bit different today and just do a little bit of recaps on some odds and ends that are going on with a couple of the cases. Did not put them on the thumbnail because I thought, well, there's four that I have updates on. I'd like to know which one you guys would like to start with, but I thought we'd talk a little bit about Courtney Clenney today because I found something out very interesting. And then, of course, we've got the destruction of the crime scene for KohBerger case. And that's been a lot going back and forth, and talk a little bit about the judge there and things that are going on. We've got some stuff going on with Murdaugh, with Alex Murdaugh. That case is heating up a bit. Um, the pursuit of a retrial by the defense, and there's been some movement, some interesting little tidbits there. We have a little bit to talk about with Jean Carroll, and then a little tidbit on the Tates. So I guess I'd want to know which you guys want to talk about first. Just put any name in there you want. And if it isn't any of the ones that I have already said, then just pick anybody else and I'll try to give you some tidbits on that. But I thought we'd just do an hour of catch up. As you can hear, my voice is going out. Believe it or not, I'm going to enter the new year coming down with something. I'm fighting it like heck, though. But gosh, am I tired. I haven't even done anything all day. And listen to this. Listen to this voice, right? Yeah. Hey, Juju. Nice to see you. Hey, Fish Nerd. It's good to see you, too. Let's do the cases we dislike the most first. Okay, who do you dislike the most, Juju? And also, I see also talking about the KohBerger scene. Yeah, that was pretty distressing. Um, hello Jay, how are you? Yeah. All right, so let's do the case we dislike the most. Which one is that, Juju? Would that be Courtney Clenney? Because not that many people are fond of that woman. That's very good advice, April. I'm gonna do that. I do take a lot of honey. I do. And I have Manuka honey drops that I use too. Thank you. And peppermint tea though. That's good for your tummy too. All right, let's see. Hmm. Tate we don't like. Okay. Let's start with Andrew Tate. Okay, there's not really much on Andrew Tate. We'll start with some good news, Juju. He's still in Romania. Okay. He's still in Romania. Despite trying again to get out of Romania because they wouldn't let him come when his grandmother was sick and supposedly, going to pass away. And then his mother, unfortunately, had a heart attack. She had a mild heart attack and she was in the hospital, and the brothers petitioned the court to again come to America. But I guess they forget that they're under such serious charges as like RICO, like in hiding money from the government, and like all of this very serious charges. Why they think the government is going to let them leave the country when they're a flight risk to begin with is beyond me. But they did ask, and of course they were turned down. Okay. After this, they just threw such a fit on Twitter that it caused such a backlash. I don't know if you've noticed, but on the social medias, there's been a lot of contrary publicity for the Tates lately. It seems they've been putting out some promos supporting their way of life. And even some of the tweets made by Andrew Tate look a little bit like psychotic in a way, like really strange. People are pulling up their old tweets about them going against religions, even the Muslim faith, everything, talking about people that have faith just mean that they're losers. I mean, I don't know if these things are altered or not, but man, was there an onslaught against them. People just were a little bit pushed by the entitlement, I think. It kind of felt bad a little bit because, their mom is not doing well, but I'm sure they could do a video call or something. I mean, but you can't just leave the country. You just can't. And the fact that they thought that that was that they're being persecuted just because of who they are because of it kind of made me laugh, because they're just getting treated like everybody else. No criminal with a flight risk would be allowed to leave the country when they're facing such serious charges. I mean, it would be actually extraordinary if they were. It would actually be preferential treatment to the opposite. Okay. But yeah. Oh, hi, Mark. It's good to see you. Hope your New Year's treating you well. Yep. Yeah, I mean, they do have an extraordinary amount of optimism. I'll give you that. I appreciate the optimism, thinking they can get out of Romania, but give it up, tater tot. That's another thing. Have you seen the memes with all the tater tots that they've been in all the tater tot people? That's what they're calling the Tate fans now. They've been quite amusing too. But I don't want to go in too hard on him. I do hope that, everybody's going to be well in his family, but no special treatment required there. It was interesting to see quite a few accounts making it their business to actually put the actual charges and why they are actually having these charges against them out there, because for you to hear Tate do his interviews, there's nothing, that's not even what he's charged with, and like everything's just messed up, and it's just something they're going to be able to straighten out. you know I don't think so. I think he's going to be in Romania for a very, very long time, waiting a trial, going through trial, and then after trial. But we shall see. We shall see. We have to wait for the actual court, right? Hmm. Yeah, I'll show you some later, Juju. I'll put them in the Discord. They've been quite funny. They're really quite amusing. Um, but yeah, they're trying to say that this is preferential treatment because not being able to leave the country. And there's no precedent to allow him to read to leave the country. So I don't know what they're talking about. Well, apparently they don't think that any of their followers can read. That's all I got to say, because there's plenty out there to the contrary on everything. All right. Okay. Up next, which one do you not like is number two? I mean, Tate is the most disliked case that we're covering right now. I'd like to talk about some of the interesting things, if you don't mind, about Courtney Clenney. We still don't have a trial date. Nope, nope. I do not have a trial date for Courtney Clenney. This is this is 2 years. We're going in 2 years now. Hello, T King. Good to see you. Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Well, Courtney Clenney, you know, just going through the bail hearing where she was denied and hearing the coroner speak about the wound, okay, that was bad enough. Like when she said that she just tossed the knife at him and he stuck in. Mhm. I don't. How is there no trial date? Because they're still going through discovery. Because they're well, that's part of like there's so much going on back and forth about discovery that they can't set the trial date yet. They got to get through, okay, and there's just not a trial date yet, okay. And also, it's Florida, and it's very hard for me to get information out from Florida. Now, on Friday, there was supposed to be Friday, December 16th, I believe, 16th or 17th, whatever that Friday was. There was supposed to be a hearing, and it was an evidentiary hearing, because as we have talked in the past on one of our other episodes, Courtney Clenney's defense attorneys were trying to hold out all of the audio and video evidence that Abusami, Christian, had on his phone. Now, there's a problem with that. Well, number one, Florida is a two-party state for recording, which means she had to give permission. Well, as the prosecution actually answered the motion for the judge to consider, most of those audio tapes and videos were sent from Courtney to Christian Abusami. So there is the intent there that if you sent it to them, that they would save it on their phone. Okay. there is a kind of like the permission there. Now, you don't think it's going to be broadcasted, used against you in a murder trial, but you definitely didn't think that you had any rights to like complete privacy about it. The other point that they brought up in the prosecution's motion back was that a lot of it took place in public places. A lot of the recordings were made poolside, at malls, out while they were having dinner, all over the place where other people were around. And it was not actually, wouldn't actually convey the thing that you expected, complete privacy, so to speak. You could see their point. But the real kicker, I mean, first of all, we're not talking about one or two videos, okay? We're talking about 220 videos and 646 audio files. And a lot of them are from prior to them moving to Miami, Florida, okay? Now, first of all, when you hear that number, does that not make you go, why did he have so much of that on his phone? Why did Christian Abulsami have all of this? Well, it doesn't look very good for Courtney, does it? That even the fact that 220 videos and 646 audio files exist that could be used against her. Wow. Yes, it does, Mark. That's what it means. Let me just pull this up. Mark asks, when it is a two-party consent, does that just mean that a recording without two-party consent can't be used in court or can't be recorded at all? It's not supposed to be. It's a violation. It's you don't have permission to use the recording if you don't let the other party know that they're going to be recorded or it's going to be used. And of course, it can't be used in court without the consent of both. Now, Abulsami, the state represents Abulsami because they're bringing charges against her in his name because of his murder. So that doesn't exist. But she's trying to say that she doesn't give consent. Well, she's the one who recorded it. You see where the problem is? Like a lot of it, she recorded herself. So if you're recording it yourself, isn't that consent to the recording? I think so. But I'm not a lawyer. We all know that. I can't wait to have that play out. But right now, that's what's keeping us from getting a trial date. The judge has to go over all of these motions back and forth. Well, here's the kicker. Here's the real kicker. Is as the defense team is trying to eliminate all of these recordings that were found in Abulsami's, PC and phone, okay, or laptop and phone, whatever, in his possession. Courtney Clenney's defense team filed a motion to submit one of their own recordings. Unfortunately, they are filing it after the discovery date, which gives the prosecution a good reason to eliminate it right there. But I do find it kind of hypocritical that now they want to submit one of their own recordings, knowing that Christian cannot obviously consent since he's not here anymore. A little weird, right? Like, okay, you can't use all of that, but let me bring you this. I want to submit this one. One video. Okay. No. In any way, the prosecution is fighting them from submitting that one video, but mostly because of a technicality on timing. There is late submission and they don't have to allow it. Okay. It should have came up before. I don't know where they dug it out. Okay. Another thing about a lot of the recordings that the prosecution has in their possession that they want to stay in evidence that they've already submitted for discovery that defense is trying to keep out, a lot of them were taken in public places like the lobby where they live or outside by the pool or roll or all over the place. They weren't inside their apartment or where you would expect to have great privacy. And like I said, most of them were sent by Courtney to Abulsami. So how is there the expectation of privacy on her side? It's a little sketch. But we're going to have to go through legal precedent to see. They're going to be putting case against case, and then the judge is going to have to decide. And the judge is taking his time. This has been going on for months. Okay, the wheels of justice in Florida are moving really, really slow in regards to the Courtney Clenney case. Okay, but that isn't the most fascinating thing I have to tell you about Courtney Clenney. Okay, not only do I think she's being a little hypocritical in her defense, and I do admit that they are trying their best. John Prida is doing his best to put up a very good case for her of self-defense. He's been saying it from the beginning, that she is the victim here. And the prosecution believes otherwise. They are building a case to say that Courtney Clenney is the aggressor, absolutely the aggressor in this case. And by the wealth of evidence that they want to put in, I can see why they think so. But actually, Courtney's got herself a little bit of trouble. She's still in prison. Her bail was denied. Okay, she's still in prison waiting trial. And well, there's an account that did some digging because they were curious, because they had heard that Courtney Clenney filed a complaint about not being able to have access to great makeup or a makeup artist or cosmetology, for her appearances when she has to go for her hearings. Okay. And so, all inmates are allowed to fill out forms of some kinds of complaints, that they have. One of the other things that she complained about was the type of female products that she's allowed, that they have in the commissary to use. It was in regards to tampons. She didn't like the cardboard ones. She thought that they were just not up to standard, and she wanted, regular plastic applicator, whatever, tampons, a better grade, which she was turned down for. Okay. They are looking into whether they should allow to have more beauty implementation, like more cosmetology services for the female prisoners there, for hair and makeup and such, things like that, like maintenance. I don't know. But anyway, besides this complaint, she'd also made a complaint about a guard making her 7 minutes late for her hearing. Okay. So, this account, True Lifestyles, and I have actually linked both their videos down below, because they actually went and acquired the prison records. You can acquire a public prison record on someone, whether they have had any disciplinary actions or filed any complaints. Well, lo and behold, around the same time that Courtney Clenney is complaining about this one officer, Nelson, the one guard, Nelson, where she is, there was a disciplinary action against Courtney Clenney, because there was like two sides of the story. She says she just asked the woman, like, why are you trying to make me late all the time? And that the woman goaded her and said, I'll make you late whenever I want, and I'll make you more late next time, and blah, 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 blah. And yet, there are witnesses by several prisoners and several other guards to back up the guard Nelson's statement that Courtney Clenney cursed at her, told her to do her damn job, and caused a ruckus. And she actually went through a disciplinary hearing, and she lost her privileges for a little while during, I think it was August. Oh, she lost phone privileges, she lost visitation privileges, and she lost use of the commissary for a little while, because it seems like Courtney's acting a little bit entitled, and she got a foul mouth, and she likes to tell people off and tell them what they should be doing. I thought that was quite interesting for someone who is a victim. I mean, it doesn't actually, she sounds a bit aggressive to me in prison. Anyway, hey, John P. Adventures, good to see you. Thanks for being here. Nice. Very nice. But anyway, what do you guys think about that? I thought that was cool. Well, for me, I'd say amusing. Hey, rabbits, good to see you. Oh, 14 watching and only 8 likes. I know people are stingy on the likes anymore, aren't they, rabbits? I don't know. Hey, everybody, like, don't get rabbits pissed off. Go ahead down there and like and comment on this video. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the bells. Yeah. Hey, Mousy, good to see you. I see you came in. I hope you're feeling better. Well, anyway, that Clenney, I don't know. I'm thinking she's acting a bit entitled. We thought Courtney Clenney was sitting quietly in jail. How wrong we were. Exactly. We thought she was just sitting there waiting, biding her time, and lo and behold, yeah, there we go. Well, anyway, it didn't make her look very good. And of course, we are going to have to wait for the trial and find out what comes out. But all along, her defense team has said they are going to put that she was the victim, that this was self-defense, and that she had to. She had to. Oh, you had the gunk. I'm so sorry. I'm glad you feel better, though. I do. Yeah. Mm, we all do. We all do. Rocket couch. It's cool. It's good, though. Okay, so now we've done Clenney. If there's no more questions on Clenney, how about Murdaugh? You want to talk about that, or KohBerger, or Jean Carroll? We got a couple more. Let's see. I'll leave it up to you guys. Just put a name in the chat. Carroll, Murdaugh, or KohBerger. Hey, Jen. Good to see you. We seem to be light on co-conspirators. Yeah. With Biden in office, it brings a whole new meaning to saying Biden your time. It sure does. It sure does. That's very funny there. Yeah. KohBerger or Murdaugh? Either one. Okay. Eeny, meeny, miny. Oh, I got another Murdaugh. Okay, so Murdaugh's in the lead. Let's go with Murdaugh then. Okay, here we go. Alex Murdaugh. Okay. Alex isn't talking very much. The defense brought that motion saying they wanted a retrial because the court clerk, Becky Hill, is being accused of tampering with the jury. Well, that's not really the update here. The update here is that, well, Becky Hill has been out there talking, and she did put in, we read last time, her case again, her answer back against the accusations. She says that things are being twisted and this didn't happen or that didn't happen, and it does look pretty well, it looks pretty like it could go either way. I will say that. Okay, well, one of the most important things is we now have a judge. Hold on one second, because I wanted to pull up how to say her last name. It's actually Judge Jean Toll. And she was actually she's retired, okay, from the court, but often when they have to bring in someone to do a special something, they will bring one back, okay? But she's going to be part of the Supreme Court that's going to go over the post-trial matters in regards to Murdaugh's conviction and whether or not this new trial is warranted. Okay, it is now officially on her calendar. Okay, there will be a merits hearing. Okay, there's going to be a merits hearing, and I don't think it's going to be on March 3rd. Oh no, that was when he was sentenced. I'm sorry, I don't have the date of the merits hearing actually. Oh, wait a minute. It does start on January 29th. We are going to have it this month. I don't know if it's going to be a live stream like Judge Newman did. I have to check the calendars, but if it is, we're going to do it. It's expected to be 3 days long. They'll present all of the evidence in the cases back and forth. The attorneys can be there. Okay. This is going to be just you know, she actually replaces Judge Newman in all things to regards to these post-trial matters because he recused himself, and he is now officially retired this month. So anyway, they're going to go over all of the things in the claims made by the defense team and Alex Murdaugh and the prosecution's rebuttal back. And they'll be looking at everything themselves, and they can present evidence and look at all of the evidence at that time and decide whether or not it warrants a retrial, whether the whole thing will be retried again. And wow, can you just imagine if we do actually get a retrial? Okay. Anyway, the good news is that Judge Toll is working with the Press Association and the First Amendment advocate to accommodate needs of the media and public and develop an order dealing media coverage by next week. So by next week, we should find out whether or not we will get coverage of the murder of this actual hearing, which it could be. Mhm. It could be. Anyway, that's not even, I mean, that's good news that we have a judge now. We know who's in charge, and we know that that's going to be going forward. Hey, Tsunami, good to see you. Good to see you. Thanks for being here. Okay, so I'm telling you that it's a good, it's it's a good thing if they put it out there for all of us to see, because we don't know what other evidence like it is. Like, we hear all the hearsay. First of all, are the jury members going to be up there on the stand? Are they going to question them? The ones with the affidavits. And what about those affidavits that were third party? They're not even signed. It's like, oh, well, they told the law clerk this. So the law clerk is submitting the affidavit, but not signed by the people that said anything. That sounds like hearsay to me. But hey, we'll see who's going to show up to actually sit in the stand and testify and actually give evidence for Judge Toll, who is going to be able to ask them questions straight out, not just the attorneys. I'm hoping they are, Juju. They say they're working on it now on how the media will be able to be there. Judge Toll's working with the committee right now to figure that out, and we're supposed to get something on the book soon about it. We should get an order soon on it. Hopefully, we will see more about that soon. But so far, all I know is that it starts on the 29th, January 29th. Okay. So on that, that is going to be good. That's going to be a good thing. Hey, Mrs. Cassandra, good to see you. Good to see you. Okay, so the other thing in regards to murder has more to do with Becky Hill. Becky Hill's been out there doing her press, and she did her release. She hasn't really been quiet. I don't think she's listening to her lawyer very well. Okay. But another very unfortunate thing happened to put Becky Hill in a not so good light. We already talked about her son coming under indictment and has charges against him for wiretapping while he was in control of the security for all of this. Not such a good look. Okay. Her phone was subpoenaed in that investigation. We have to find out if there has been any conversations from her son to her in regards to things that went on in the court system. One of the reasons being that one of the people that he tapped was the person who coordinates the scheduling for the Murdaugh trial. It was on their docket. It's a little spider webby can do that. It doesn't mean anything happened. It just means there's little spider webby connections all over the place that have to be checked out. It does look hella sus though, and it did make quite a ripple throughout the community when her son was indicted also. Well, that's not the news I got today. That we talked about before. That's hella sus, and we're waiting to hear the rest of it. He is coming up on charges on that. There's going to be more going to be a trial on that. Okay. But Becky Hill just had to admit to plagiarism on that lovely book she wrote, which just started this whole thing. The defense says that that's the reason she was tampering with the jury. She wanted to make sure that Murdaugh was found guilty so that she could get better book sales. It would be a juicier story. But she just got admitted to copying word for word some article prior in regards to the murder trial and copied it word for word and put it in her book as if she said it. And when her co-author, the man who helped her put this book together, the ghostwriter Neil Gordon, found out, well, he had a fit. Okay, and now the book is not being printed. It's been pulled from publication right now. I don't know. I think it was voluntary, but I think they would have pulled it out anyway, so I don't know. It is crazy, absolutely crazy. But Becky Hill's been on all sides of wrong on rumor and speculation in just not so good looking things lately. When it all first came out, I kind of felt for her. And I don't know if this is just like, if you look hard enough for something, you're going to find something wrong, you know? But still, he doesn't look good right now with all of this coming out. It's like the wagons are circling and everybody's like hyper fixated on everything she did do. And I guess if there is anything there, it is going to come up. But we're going to hear all about it. Hopefully, we will get to actually stream those hearings with Judge Toll. And I'm looking forward to putting it to rest one way or the other. Is there going to be a trial or isn't there going to be a trial? I mean, even if Becky Hill is all of that, did it actually mess with the jury? That's what the judge has to decide. All of this smear campaign could be nothing but a smear campaign. It could just be, a last ditch effort. Well, there's got to be enough there to taint the jury for Judge Toole to actually do a retrial. You don't, just because you didn't like what the court clerk did, just because like she wrote a book and plagiarized and her son did some bad stuff, doesn't mean you get, a new trial. It depends on what if that bad stuff the son did affected the trial. And it depends on if the Becky Hill made statements that affected the jury's decision. And you got to remember the way Judge Newman ran that court. He asked that jury every day if they were uncomfortable, if anything had happened, did anyone try to influence you? Every day, every morning and every night. And they did exit interviews and they did their exit little survey sheets. And they did mention once or twice some small things that have been blown up, but not enough to turn a jury to do a guilty conviction. Exactly. I am not either, Juju. I kind of agree with you there. I'm not convinced that she was that powerful. I think she's a problem, and I think she annoyed a bunch of people. But was it enough? But that's going to be up to Judge Toll. And she's got the time, and she doesn't have that heavy a load because she's just been coming out of retirement to do this. Okay, so we're going to see. And hopefully we'll all get to see together with a live stream. But otherwise, we'll hear about it afterwards and give you the updates as soon as they come out. But that's what I have on Murdaugh. Okay. And for KohBerger, well, let's move on to that one. KohBerger, there's two things. All of the evidence, the DNA evidence, has been submitted to judge to actually do the analysis on it. Remember, he was going to say he was going to look on everything and he was going to decide whether it all comes in or not. We have not heard yet. He said he would take his time, but we're waiting and we're waiting. Okay. He does want everybody to come and be prepared to speak on it. As soon, if he has questions. So it should be soon. Hopefully, we will get some word on that hearing also. Remember, they were going to be allowing, they are going to be allowing, the judge is going to allow cameras in. So we have to wait and see if he will for the hearing on the DNA. That will be very interesting. I would like to see that. If it is going to be available for us by camera in some way, I think that's interesting enough that we will actually either capture it for you and play it in full or try to do it live, because I actually think that that information, the way it is presented, is going to be very, very important. Remember, it's one of the one full few physical things they have as far as evidence against Brian KohBerger. Now, that doesn't mean that they don't have more. We just haven't seen it. Remember, things got clamped down pretty quickly after the media hailstorm that happened after everything was coming to light. Um, they did get a lot from the house that he was at, his parents, and then his apartment. You know, they've had his vehicle, but we don't know what all they have, you know. Let's see. How often do I think Jay will be in my streams? As much as he likes, like, Jay's just coming back and he's not as familiar with a lot of the cases that I cover. I'm doing more of live criminal cases. Jay and I did a lot of talking about serial killers and unsolved cases from the past. We just did a lot of talking about Long Island serial killer from the past. But Jay and I are streaming tomorrow. Remember, we are going to be talking about Michael Cottingham, a serial killer from the past. And we're going to be talking tomorrow at 7 o'clock Eastern Time on Wednesday. Jay will be here. So Jay, I hope to have Jay here as often as he wants to be here, but it may not be every Tuesday. Like I said, I do these recaps on the live stuff that he hasn't been really keeping up on. Okay, but once he gets back into the swing of things, we'll see. Once when he's interested, he would definitely be here for the cases, and we will try to do more with him in regards to looking at the serial killers of the past, some of the more famous murderers of the past, like we did. I really do enjoy working with Jay a lot. He really does have a lot of great input. I agree with you, Mark. I really do. He does. And I'm interested if he gets up to speed on KohBerger, because this is one where, remember, Jay's famous line to me all the time was, "Hey, nobody." And I really want to see how he reacts with the evidence in the Murdaugh trial if we go back to trial again on that and cover it. So we'll see. We'll see, and that should be pretty influential. No, Cottingham. It's I believe his first name's Michael. Michael Cottingham we're covering tomorrow. The Torso Killer. That was his nickname. Yeah. I think the Yorkshire Ripper was Peter Suckville. I think you might be right on that. Yeah. Juju, I agree with you. Tyler as a public defender is probably the best public defender I've seen in a long time. She's really pulled everything out. And there's others involved also. There's a couple of other really good attorneys working with her, with KohBerger. He's got good coverage there, and they're really doing their best. But we have to find out what the judge is going to do about that DNA. The other big thing on KohBerger is that the house was recently demolished where the murders occurred. Now, before everybody gets all upset about the crime scene, okay, I want you to remember, how many crime scenes are still intact when something goes to trial? Not many. No, not many at all. It just doesn't get left like that. It gets cleaned up. It's done. They walk away. People are allowed to move back into their homes. Restaurants are still allowed to be open. Things happen in malls, public places all over. It's not that unusual that the crime scene is not available during the trial. Okay. Which is why the prosecution had contacted with the FBI. They did a walkthrough. They did a model of the home. Okay, they're going to be able to give a good visual as to how far apart the rooms were, etc. It's not the same thing as a walkthrough. Okay, like we got in the murder trial, we got to go walk and see where the kennel was. We got to go walk there, but that was extraordinary. I want you to remember, it's actually very rare for the crime scene to be intact. Okay, it takes years to go to trial. No one's going to yellow tape something up that long. Okay. Look at all of the sketchy evidence that was provided in the Murdaugh trial because they were allowed to go back 2 years later and go and try to measure splintered wood on a wall to act as if something happened. Okay. Like, it's not always beneficial. Okay. The prosecution has got what they needed from there, so they believe. And the defense had every opportunity to also. And point be taken that neither the prosecution nor the defense petitioned the court to stay the demolition. The demolition of this property was scheduled well before the murders happened. It was on the books prior. It was going to be coming down. They didn't decide to take this home down because of the murders. So we have to take that all into view. It is upsetting because we hear some family members out there squawking about it, that evidence is being hidden, whatever. I really don't believe that that is the case. I don't believe anything's being done to cover up. There are certain family members of the victims who do like to say that things are being covered up because they don't like what things are happening. But then there are other family members of the victims who are happy that the house is taken down, that it should be taken down. Okay, so something good can be brought forward. Okay, um, so there are two sides to it, obviously. I understand that they're all talking, in regards to they're talking from their grief, they're talking from just wanting the case to be settled. Okay. There are some, they just want everything to move forward. But the facts are no one petitioned to have the demolition stopped. If they did, there would have been a chance it could have been. But they didn't even try. Okay. They got the evidence they did, and they have a good point. Hey Darth, how you doing? They have a good point in the fact. Liam, it's good to see you. The fact is most crime scenes are not intact at trial, and it's not going to really affect the trial. All of the evidence has been removed anyway. Okay. Yes, it's beneficial occasionally to have a walkthrough if you're going to talk about distance or how fast could he have done something or what it actually looked like. But this is why the FBI has already created a walkthrough model in where they take all the measurements and they make like an actual visual, as like a VR of walking through the home yourself. Okay, they've gotten everything they need. Defense also, you know. But there's a lot back there. But when it comes to this case, no matter what happens, there's going to be a lot of squawking out there. Mostly because the judges can't clamp down on all of the real information. So every little thing that does leak out sounds like it's such a huge deal. Oh my gosh, they must be covering up. One of the main concerns of this particular family member that's out there talking all the time is that the information is not available to the media like it is, and it can't be tore up and analyzed and turned and rumors started and all of this. I think that's beneficial to the case, actually, and I think you guys know how I feel about that. I'm still strongly going to be on the side that the judge had every right to clamp down on that and should have. Things were getting out of control. I mean, they were interviewing people's kindergarten teachers to find out if they had serial killer tendencies or murderistic tendencies. We've got other cases involved where TikTok people are accusing other professors of ungodly things, just for the fame of the murders itself. It was spiraling out of control. And in order for a large community like that hasn't seen such a tragic murder, young people, they were young, they were 20, university students, well liked and loved. We have a whole community that was suffering. In actually clamping down on the information seeping out was actually beneficial to that community so they could heal. I mean, people weren't able to even go and get a cup of coffee. Think of the people who survived, the two students who survived, who were in the university area and couldn't even go around without being bombarded. The families also, to hear it day in and day out. Yes, everybody wants justice. I'm not saying forget about it. I'm not saying that. And everybody wants transparency too. It's about when you get it. You shouldn't get it in order to tamper with the trial. And it will affect the jury pool. It will affect things, okay? It will affect whether or not people want to come forward with information or whether they think their information is valid. The rumor and speculation can damage the quality of the evidence that comes forward. It can damage whether or not certain evidence comes forward, people's willingness to discuss or bring forward things. And we saw that happening. Mm. So, what enough on that. If you guys don't have questions in regards to the KohBerger thing, or you want to make some comments. Well, Jen, Lizzie Borden's house is still standing, but I'm sure they cleaned it up. That was a hell of a mess, huh? Yeah. Hmm. That is. I figured there's more, but that's the area of the sheet. Yes, you're talking about the knife sheath. Yes, it was touch DNA. It was like just cells. Exactly. Security for the jury also has to be accounted for during a walkthrough too, though. Yeah, true. True. You know, I feel like personally I would want to see the actual site, but I think sometimes the defense can use that to their advantage, pulling on emotions. And that is true. It's not often that a judge will allow it. It has to be a special petition. You don't always get to do a walkthrough of the crime scene. It's actually rare. Having your crime scene available to the jury is actually rarer than you think. It is. Plus, the crime scene has most likely been so altered that you would be limited on certain arguments. Yes, you would. You wouldn't actually see evidence, but you would be able spatially to tell if it was possible to do murders in two rooms within a certain period of time. Or in the case of Murdaugh, how everything was so close together with the time frame that was Linden, it actually led credibility when they actually saw how close the dog's kennel was to the feed room and vice versa. Like it actually did make a little bit of a difference. It made it seem more plausible in the time frame. Yeah. Mm. Yeah. Yes, the young lady who actually saw him in the house, she was dodged like crazy. She actually moved out of the area and she's having her own issues now and they're going to have to compel her to testify, actually. She may even be a hostile witness because I don't think she wants to come forward willingly anymore. Has anything been explained about why the 911 call took as long to go out? I know that was a point that people keep bringing up about the surviving roommates. No, they didn't. We've talked about it here on the channel, knowing that it was a party house, knowing they were all up at 2 a.m. in the morning. And 4 a.m. That there was phone records and things like that going back and forth, that it was not that unusual that they wouldn't get up and about or think the roommates were missing until a certain period of time. They wouldn't go in their rooms. I mean, you're in a house full of college students in their 20s who are all out drinking and partying the night before. It was standard routine, in and out, people in and out of the house. That's been said. So actually, no, I don't think that they've actually come forward with a good explanation. I think if both roommates are part of the trial and do testify, I think we'll hear more about that, more about the conversations back and forth. I know that one of the victim's sisters is involved in far as people contacting her to find out where her sister was or why she wasn't answering. And I think we'll hear more about it, but we didn't get enough detail to actually make any really valid opinion, except for that people were speculating that perhaps the roommates were covering up. And this is what made it so horrible for them to be there in the community at the time. Because people were saying, well, it took them so long, and there was all this stuff like, why would they do that? Like, and there's all this, like, putting suspicion on them, you know. And this is what I mean about this kind of stuff affecting the trial, because now we have the two surviving roommates under such stress with all of this, everybody coming at them, the press, people, the community, the families, everybody's just scrutinizing everything that they said or did, makes it very uncomfortable for them also. They have their own trauma being survivors of such a thing, survivor's guilt. And how close did they come? Like, they were only a room away. It's like they have their own stuff to deal with. But there was a lot about that. When was the call made? Why was it made later? What did they say? Why weren't they looking for people? You gotta remember, it's like 5 individuals who rent a house together. They're partying on the weekends. They had their routines. And apparently it didn't seem that unusual, that they weren't up that early. Okay. Um, that's about all I have on that. Mhm. There's always going to be the question of the benefit of seeing the crime scene or whether it could prejudice you. True, true. You know what? It was a rental home, you know, and, they're going to have the diagram. They're going to have, the walkthrough diagram at least. So they're going to have something. You don't make a call to the police about something you don't know about. Then it can take time to recover your wits. This is true. Especially if they were, let's just say, we don't know if they were high or drunk. We don't know. Okay. What we do know is that they needed time and they took it. That will come up in the trial, but no charges were pressed against either of those roommates. I would think it was prejudice the jury, although OJ's defense team altered his home so much prior to a jury visit. That aspect should be explored as well. This is true. If it's not kept pristine, then, exactly. Because when there was the complication at the Murdaugh trial, when they went back and they looked back to the kennels, they were trying to judge if from the house Alex Murdaugh could have heard anything. Okay. But remember, the trees had grown. It'd been a year and a half, and there was more dense foliage in between. And so it wasn't really a fair aspect, and they had to add all this stuff in. So sometimes it can confuse a jury more, which is beneficial to the defense, obviously, or not, depends. It could go either way for the prosecution or the defense. But when you takes years to come to trial, you can guarantee that murder scene is no longer pristine. A lot of things have changed just from the processing, overgrowth, trees in the way, plants in the way, visualization. There's a lot of things that are going to be different. Okay. Just the cleanup alone is going to change aspects in the home. But for the home, the only thing they would get the benefit of by doing a tour is how close the rooms were and how fast you could enter through the sliding glass door, do what you had to do, and leave. If you had enough time to get to each of the rooms and be there. It would be one thing if it's a sprawling mansion and we're talking wings away, it would take more time, right? So, I mean, it is effective to the walkthrough as far as the timeline or how easily it would be to accomplish things without being seen. But you got to admit, the model will do the same thing. Do they need the house? I stand firmly on no, they don't. And it would be rare if they did have access to it. I would think that's the same one. Sorry. I honestly think the one that saw him either was afraid to leave her room and fell asleep, or that she just went back to bed not realizing what had happened. Either or, and they maybe they don't know like who's there from a party or whatever, or who's visiting who. Maybe they're not that involved with each other's personal lives, their intimate lives. May have thought it was someone visiting someone, may have got so, like you said, like spooked that they just went to bed going, "Oh God, I don't know what that was," and just blanked out. Everybody has a different response to things. To actually try to say what was the right thing, you know, I don't know. I don't know. Yeah. There was more dense what? Growth, overgrowth, like um in the Murdaugh trial, there was more dense overgrowth for the being able to visualize or sound traveling, when they were trying to figure out in the murder trial whether or not he could have heard anything that was going on in the kennels or saw anything, and so it really wasn't a good representation of how it was on the day of the murder. Because it's been so altered in a year and a half. That was my point, Mark, in regards to when they did have the actual scene of a crime available. How it didn't really help the it kind of clouded some of what they were trying to present for the jury. Mousy, that's the thing. That's what, like, some people are saying they needed the house for, to show the proximity. But if you've got a good enough knife and you're swift about it, you know what you're doing. I guess you can. And I guess I feel that way from looking into a lot of serial killers and a lot of murderers, from the past. That yeah, horrible things can be done in like no time at all. Yeah. You just wanted to hear me pronounce foliage again. Okay. All right. No problem, Mark. You want to send me a word list? I'll try to fit it in. Just you crack me up, dude. You do. Uh, mm. I feel that there's a reason why those particular Tinder accounts were subpoenaed. There could be interaction between um the victims, the people that lived in the house, KohBerger, or anyone else. We don't know who they're looking at, too. You know. Yeah, yeah, they were saying you could definitely hear the gun, absolutely, but like especially since, well, there was more evidence than that. There was definitely that video that placed them there. Someone who knows what they're doing doesn't leave their night sheet behind. That's what I was going to say, especially not under the body. I don't know. Eh, there's a lot to be said about all of that. There really is. We don't know all of the evidence yet, so the fact that we don't know if there's more. We do know that they said the scene was very bloody. There is a picture of the outside of the house where there is blood seeping from the floorboards through the foundation outside. We're talking like a big mess. Um, that's a lot of blood. And I want to hear more about the evidence that's collected and how they're portraying it. I want to hear the prosecution's actual laying out of the crime, on how they feel that he did this. We've got triangulation, the phone, we've got like turning a phone off and on. We've got the car in the vicinity here and there. We've got an eyewitness of someone, but was it KohBerger? We don't know, you know. I just know that they really went and they really are going hard on him and they really think it's him. Okay. And while they think it's him, I don't know if they're looking for anybody else. They do say that the investigation is still ongoing all the time, even if he has been arrested, because they're still gathering evidence. But I would hope if there is evidence that turns it a different way, we're going to hear about it eventually. Are you talking? Yeah, this is about Murdaugh. I feel like that kennel guy that stayed in the trailer a mile away near the property wouldn't have been able to hear it, but you could probably hear the shotgun from the house. This is true, and that is what the prosecution laid out. Yep. I would say that the killer panicked a little to leave the sheath, not to mention that the sheath has a belt loop for a reason. Absolutely. I am always trying to figure out how to be able to watch the whole KohBerger trial. Yep. We're going to see. We're going to see if he's going to actually stream it every day or if it's going to be post video footage. We're going to find out. Yeah, let's ask the psychic why the sheath was left behind. Yeah, because she's got such great credibility lately, Juju. Like, yeah, I kind of, I want her to get some legal representation, like, because she's really just making a mess for herself. I really want her to get some good advice. I really, yeah, I don't want to think about anybody with a knife sheath like that lurking about with any, intent to commit such a horrendous crime, and it was. But on that, I think I'm going to move forward for the last few minutes on to Jean Carroll. There's not really much here either. Jean Carroll's got the civil suit against Donald J. Trump for defamation and sexual battery, which we already had part one of that, which is actually part two. The second case that was filed on him for after he was out of office as president, which he was found guilty and he was ordered to pay millions. Okay. They downgraded the rape charge to sexual battery because she did not remember penetration. And in New York, there's a very specific delineation into the regards to the rape terminology for the charge. But they did agree that she was assaulted and that he did it against her will. And so she does have sexual battery charge on there that he's guilty of. Now, because he was found guilty in this part of the case, and the other part of the case is only a matter of timing on when defamation statements were made, which would mean during office, okay, and he was filing to say he had presidential immunity. Well, the Supreme Court came down and said, no, he didn't. Not when he made those statements. He was not performing the duties of his office when he spoke about E. Jean Carroll the way he did. He is appealing that. We've got the case coming up very soon. And also, the Judge Kaplan, has already said that I'm sorry, but since you were guilty in the first one, and since we already know that the defamation existed and it's guilty, all they have to do is come up with the damages. And then she also amended her civil suit from the first time when she was in office and he made those statements to add the CNN comments that he made after the verdict was read and after he was found guilty. He just took to the mic on CNN. He did a call in and he defamed her again. So she amended the charges there. Okay. That has already been settled. The jury only needs to come up with the damages again. Okay. And he can come and speak just like he could come and defend himself in the first trial, and he didn't. We will see if he comes to the second one, and he does. Well, he did go to his financial trial, and that didn't work out too well with the judge there. There was a lot of, it was really some of the worst shenanigans I've seen in a courtroom in quite some time. Well, basically, they wanted to use it as PR and they wanted to give statements and speeches instead of asking questions like you do in a courtroom. You sit up there on the stand and your attorney and the opposing attorney ask you questions and you get your story out that way. Well, that didn't really what happened. And actually, I have to say I was a bit taken aback by the defense attorney's behavior and how they tried to twist things. Luckily, everything's on record. Statements on both sides. I'm not too. I would say there's also some contention on the other side because They also are making it quite the public relations thing publicly. So, you know, it's just like a circus. It's like a three-ring circus. It is. And I hate to see that because I have such respect for the legal system in itself, in just courtroom proceedings, to see it just fall apart like that and turn into a three-ring circus was rather disappointing, is the word I would use. But anyway, we're going to find out about Jean Carroll. So far, the appeal has not been nodded on at all. Um, but he does not have presidential immunity in the civil suit. And this will go forward since the Supreme Court has denied it in civil. There's good precedent that it could get denied for the criminal charges that he is facing all over also, which he is also trying to use um, the immunity clause for a president. And actually, that's so that you can't be sued for what you do, that well, not if it's criminal. I mean, there's never been immunity against criminal actions, but I digress. Like, we have to wait based on the appeals to see where that's going to lead up. But I think that's it. I think I have covered everything. Let me just look and see what other questions. And unless there's another case that I can just look up for you real quick that you want a little bit of an update, I have a few minutes. Okay. If you live in a country and hunt and shoot on a regular, would a shotgun blast ever register as odd? Probably not. In regard, if you're talking about Murdaugh, that was one of the things. Even if anybody did hear the shots, nobody would have thought anything of it. Duck hunting was going on at the time. Remember, they were like scouting it out for that anyway. They shot animals off their property constantly. These people live with guns. You heard gunshots all the time. I feel like everyone in the Boone case is nuts. I feel bad for her son. Imagine living with all that insanity. Even her ex-husband is a little off. Her ex-husband is a little bit, but I guess he's the best choice. And currently, she's not having the child visit Boone at all. And there was quite a bit about that. He stopped paying his alimony. He's waiting to find out what happens. There's a hearing going on there. Sarah Boone, as crazy as she is, she's writing that judge too. We talked about that a couple of episodes back. If you see a picture of Boone on the thumbnail, it's probably in that one. The last one I did about her, we talked about that. If he had said, sure, there was a gun, there were gunshots, and that was normal, it would have been more believable. Yes, just go with the truth. Both Trump and Giuliani thought they were untouchable in their defamation cases and found out differently. I'm kind of hoping Giuliani gets fined again. He probably will. He did file bankruptcy, even though it does not cover the 14.8. And by the way, Jin, he went out and defamed the two women again right after, and they actually have filed a second suit on him. And he will get paid again. He will. Yep. And his antagonistic of the court itself could get fined. Being that he's an attorney and knows better, there's probably more precedent for him to get fined than anyone. And I really think he should. His bad behavior needs to be addressed. I agree. But okay, guys, I think I'm going to wrap it up. I hope to see you all tomorrow for covering of Cottingham with Jay at 7 o'clock right here tomorrow, and then we'll be doing some weekend stuff. I don't know what the rest of the week looks like based on this throat. I don't know, but I should see you on Saturday. We have the 2023 wrap up for What the Effery. We're going to be talking about our favorite topics from the year of 2023, and that will be myself, Mrs. Cassandra, and Recker. And we hope you're all there to contribute in the chat and tell us what your favorites were. I have got a few DMs on people with some of their favorites that happened. There is a playlist for What the Effery if you want to go over some. And for 2023, it starts with episode 25 and goes through the last one because we stopped in December putting out What the Effery to get ready for this show. Well, it's going to be fun on Saturday. And then, of course, on Sunday, we've got B and Bear, and nothing. We'll end the week with a bunch of nothing. But on that, I'm going to say goodnight, everybody. Thank you all for being here. And don't forget to like, share, comment, do those YouTube things. I do have a goal for 2024. I would like to crack 2,000 for subscribers, and I'd like you all to help me get there. If you know anybody that might want to contribute a little bit here, or listen to some of the true crime, or like it just a little bit, pass it on. Like, let's try to get this a little bit big. Let's grow our community a little bit better. And also, for those members who received gift memberships last week and the week before, you are welcome into the Discord. The link is in a membership post on the back, along with anybody else who has changed their mind that's been a member who may want to join the Discord. We welcome you all. Send me a DM if the link isn't working. It should still be working. Well, I will send you a new one. And on that, everybody, have a great night. Hopefully, I'll see you tomorrow. And happy 2024.